Imagine a sky bleeding with celestial fire, not from a sun, but from the shattering of a perfect soul. Before the foundations of the world were laid, a silent war erupted in the very heart of paradise, led by the one who was meant to protect it. He was the morning star, clothed in jewels and drowning in divine music, yet a single poisonous thought changed the course of eternity forever. I shall be like the Most High. This is not just a story of a fallen angel. It is the ultimate warning of how the brightest light can birth the deepest shadow. Are you ready to witness the moment the music stopped and the rebellion began? If you hunger for the hidden truths of the scriptures, join our growing community of seekers by hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell. Welcome to Bible Mysteries Africa, where we unearth the ancient secrets that define our faith. Don't forget to like and share this video. Every share helps us bring the light of the Word to the world. Now let us step back before time began, to the day the most beautiful being in creation decided to declare war on his Creator. What if the devil wasn't always evil? What if there was a moment before the darkness, before the fall, when God himself spoke words that could have changed everything? This is the untold story of that conversation, the one that shook heaven and changed eternity forever. If this kind of deep biblical truth excites you, hit that like button and subscribe to Bible Mysteries Africa. We're building a community that digs deeper into Scripture together, uncovering the stories that change how we see God's Word. Before our world existed, before time even started ticking, heaven was perfect. Everything worked in complete harmony. Light, music, creation itself, all of it moved together in beautiful order, and standing among countless angels was one who outshone them all. His name was Lucifer, the morning star. He wasn't just beautiful. He was stunning beyond imagination, wise beyond measure, glowing with a light that came straight from God himself. This wasn't just any angel. He was the highest of the cherubim, the protector of sacred mysteries covered in precious stones. When he moved, heaven itself responded. The music of creation would swell and fade with his voice. In that perfect peace, God looked at Lucifer with love and favor. But even in paradise, something dangerous can hide beneath beauty, something not yet born, but waiting. Lucifer often stood before God's throne, in a place where no human eyes could ever see, where even angels trembled. It was there, in the stillness before time began, that God spoke to him directly. "Lucifer," said the voice that made stars burn bright, "you are the light-bearer, the mirror of my glory. Through you, heaven sees my splendor. Through you, my angels understand my wisdom." Lucifer bowed, glowing and quiet as God's presence filled everything. But then God continued, his voice gentle as eternity. "Remember this, the light burning inside you isn't yours. You're the container, not the source." For a moment, everything in heaven went quiet. Even the angels who never stopped worshipping paused. Lucifer's eyes filled with shining pride and wonder looked up toward the throne. "My Lord," he said, his voice clear as crystal, "everything I am comes from you. My light belongs to you. My song belongs to you." Yet deep inside him, something shifted. A thought small as a whisper took shape. "If I reflect his glory this perfectly, doesn't that make me just as glorious?" God, who sees every thought before it forms, felt that whisper take root, but he didn't destroy Lucifer right then. He didn't rule with fear. Instead, he spoke with love, a final warning that would echo through all of time. "Lucifer," the Almighty said, "you stand closest to my light, but listen carefully. The closer someone stands to light, the darker their shadow grows. If your heart ever claims what belongs to me, your light will turn against you. The brightness that lifts you up will become the fire that burns you down." Lucifer heard the words, but he couldn't grasp their meaning. To him, pride didn't exist yet, not as rebellion, just as wonder. He only saw his own reflection shining perfectly in God's radiance. In the ages that followed, God created the foundations of everything. Stars exploded into life, galaxies formed, and time began its endless march. Among the angels, Lucifer's light seemed to grow even brighter. He was trusted with music, with knowledge, with leading armies of angels. The morning star had become heaven's voice of beauty. But with every song he sang, a new desire formed, subtle, quiet, patient. It wasn't hatred, it wasn't anger, it was a longing to be more, to be seen, not just as a reflection, but as a creator in his own right. This thought haunted him. During worship, when multitudes bowed before God's throne, Lucifer began to feel something strange. His heart swelled, not with devotion, but with the sweetness of being admired. When angels looked at him, their admiration burned hotter than the sun. Then one day, he stood before the throne again. This time, heaven felt different, quiet, heavy, as if the stars were holding their breath. God looked at Lucifer and spoke words carrying both love and sadness. "Lucifer, you were the first to see my glory, the brightest of everything I've made. But I see a storm forming inside you. Don't let your heart be fooled by its own reflection. You are loved beyond measure, but you are not me." Lucifer's face stayed calm, but inside that whisper returned, stronger than before. "Why shouldn't I be more?" he thought. "Why should I bow forever when I was made to shine?" But he didn't say it out loud, not yet. And God, in his endless mercy, spoke once more, not as a king, but as a father. "There will come a time when I create beings in my image. They'll be lower than angels, yet they'll carry my spirit. They'll walk in worlds of matter and time, and through them, my love will be revealed. You, Lucifer, must guide them, not rule them. You must serve, not demand." "Can you do this?" Lucifer hesitated. Serve them, be a guardian for creatures made of dust. To his pride, the thought felt unbearable. He bowed, but his silence said what his lips wouldn't. God saw it all. With a voice that shook heaven's very foundations, he said, "The greatest glory isn't in ruling, it's in obeying. Remember, my son, pride was never born of light, but of the shadow that forgets where the light came from." The words pierced Lucifer's heart like fire and ice. For the first time, the morning star felt conflict, a split between the light he carried and the will that wanted to claim it. As he turned from the throne, heaven's music started again. But inside him, something had changed forever. The seeds of rebellion were planted, and though no angel knew it yet, the brightest light in heaven had begun its fall into shadow. He still sang, but something had shifted. The melodies that once brought perfect peace now carried a faint tension, like a single note slightly off-key. No one knew where it came from. Only one heart felt it growing, the heart of the morning star. Lucifer stood on the highest clouds of heaven, where golden light met the endless horizon. His wings shimmered like fire, his eyes reflected eternal glow. Yet the peace he once knew was fading inside. Questions burned. Why must I always bow? Why must every song end with his name, not mine? He looked at his reflection in the rivers of light flowing beneath heaven's gates. His face flawless, radiant, crowned with divine beauty. He had led choirs that moved heaven, commanded armies that guarded the throne, carried unmatched wisdom. To him there was no greater creation. And yet God had spoken of something new, a world, a people of clay, weak and mortal, who would carry his image. Lucifer couldn't understand it. How could beings made of dust deserve divine love? How could they be called God's children when angels had served him for ages beyond counting? These thoughts, once small, began to consume him. He wandered through heaven's courts, watching angels prepare their praise. Gabriel's voice rose in devotion. Michael's strength gleamed with humility. Every angel gave glory not to themselves, but to the Creator. It was beautiful, perfect, and pure. But to Lucifer, it began to feel like chains. So the morning star withdrew. He stopped singing. He stopped joining the great gatherings before the throne. Others noticed, but no one dared question him. Who would question the most beautiful of God's creations? In the solitude of his palace of light, Lucifer began creating music of his own. Songs not of worship, but of self. Notes that praised beauty, intellect, and freedom. The sound was unlike anything heaven had heard. It was haunting, mesmerizing, and dangerous. Some angels heard it from far away. Drawn by the melody, they came to listen. They felt power in it, a pride that stirred something in their hearts they'd never known. Lucifer smiled. "Do you not feel it?" he said softly. "The beauty of what we are. We who move the stars, who carry the light itself. Are we not worthy of more than endless servitude?" The angels hesitated. His words were graceful, his tone sincere. There was no open rebellion, no defiance, just questions. Questions that made sense, and so the whisper spread. Lucifer's influence grew like a shadow at sunset, slowly, beautifully, almost unseen. He spoke not of war, but of freedom, not of hatred, but of enlightenment. He called it awakening. Meanwhile, before the throne, God watched. He didn't strike, he didn't silence, because even in heaven, free will had meaning. Then came a day when all of heaven was called together. The throne blazed with light, and the Almighty's voice filled the realms. "Creation shall begin," God declared. "A world shall rise from the void. Its skies, its seas, and its living souls will bear my breath. To them I'll give choice, the same gift I gave to you, and through their love, my glory will be complete." The angels bowed and rejoiced, all except one. Lucifer stood still. His eyes burned, not with reverence, but with something new, resentment. When the assembly ended, he returned to his dwelling, his wings trembling. "They will love him," he whispered, "but they'll never see him. They'll worship him through faith, while I've seen his face, heard his voice, and still I must bow." He turned toward the gates of heaven and looked out into the void where earth would one day exist. "If love is his greatest law," he said quietly, "then perhaps I can love myself enough to be free." If this story opened your eyes to something new in Scripture, hit that like button and subscribe to Bible Mysteries Africa. We're here to help you grow deeper in faith, one biblical truth at a time. Gabriel's voice rose in devotion. Michael's strength gleamed with humility. Every angel gave glory not to themselves but to the Creator. It was beautiful, perfect, and pure. But to Lucifer it began to feel like chains. So the morning star withdrew. He stopped singing. He stopped joining the great gatherings before the throne. Others noticed, but no one dared question him. Who would question the most beautiful of God's creations? In the solitude of his palace of light, Lucifer began creating music of his own. Songs not of worship, but of self. Notes that praised beauty, intellect, and freedom. The sound was unlike anything heaven had heard. It was haunting, mesmerizing, and dangerous. Some angels heard it from far away. Drawn by the melody, they came to listen. They felt power in it, a pride that stirred something in their hearts they'd never known. Lucifer smiled. "Do you not feel it?" he said softly. "The beauty of what we are. We who move the stars, who carry the light itself. Are we not worthy of more than endless servitude?" The angels hesitated. His words were graceful, his tone sincere. There was no open rebellion, no defiance, just questions, questions that made sense, and so the whisper spread. Lucifer's influence grew like a shadow at sunset, slowly, beautifully, almost unseen. He spoke not of war, but of freedom, not of hatred, but of enlightenment. He called it awakening. Meanwhile, before the throne, God watched. He didn't strike, he didn't silence, because even in heaven, free will had meaning. Then came a day when all of heaven was called together. The throne blazed with light, and the Almighty's voice filled the realms. "Creation shall begin," God declared. "A world shall rise from the void. Its skies, its seas, and its living souls will bear my breath. To them I'll give choice, the same gift I gave to you. And through their love my glory will be complete." The angels bowed and rejoiced, all except one. Lucifer stood still, his eyes burned, not with reverence, but with something new, resentment. When the assembly ended, he returned to his dwelling, his wings trembling. "They will love him," he whispered, "but they'll never see him. They'll worship him through faith, while I've seen his face, heard his voice, and still I must bow." He turned toward the gates of heaven and looked out into the void where earth would one day exist. "If love is his greatest law," he said quietly, "then perhaps I can love myself enough to be free." That night, the stars dimmed. In the deepest chambers of heaven, Lucifer gathered the angels who had begun following him, not in rebellion, but in admiration. They were drawn to his beauty, his wisdom, his passion. "My brothers," he said, his voice calm and soothing, "we've served without question. We've sung his praises since before time began, but now he makes creatures of dust and calls them his children. Are we not more divine? Should we not share in his throne?" The angels murmured among themselves. Some bowed their heads in confusion, others nodded, their eyes reflecting Lucifer's light. He stepped forward, his wings unfurling like a storm. "I don't seek to replace him," he said. "I only seek to rise, to claim what we've earned. If I carry his light, then why must I live in his shadow?" The words were honey and poison, and then for the first time, he felt something he'd never felt before: separation. The warmth of God's presence that once filled him began to fade. His light flickered, not dimmed, but distorted. He felt power, but it no longer came from above. It came from within. A strange, intoxicating strength that whispered, "You need no master." In that moment, God spoke, not aloud, not through thunder or flame, but directly into Lucifer's spirit. "Lucifer," the voice said, "you've begun to love the reflection more than the source. You've made yourself your own god. Do you not see what you're becoming?" Lucifer looked toward the throne, tears of light forming in his eyes. "I only want what's fair," he said. "I only want to be free." And God answered, "Freedom without love is pride, and pride without truth is death. I gave you light to share, not to worship. I made you to serve, not to rule. Turn back before your beauty becomes your curse." But Lucifer couldn't. The voice of his own pride had grown louder than the voice of his Creator. When God's presence lifted, the silence that followed was heavy, sacred, and sorrowful. Lucifer fell to his knees, trembling, but not in repentance. The first tears of heaven fell upon the floor of eternity, not from pain, but from defiance. As they struck the golden glass beneath him, a faint tremor ran through heaven's core. The harmony that had once been flawless now carried the sound of discord. Lucifer rose slowly, his wings spreading wide. His eyes no longer reflected heaven's light. They burned with his own. "Then let it be so," he whispered. "If I cannot rise by his will, I will rise by mine." The stars flickered, the light trembled, and in that stillness, heaven held its breath. The morning star had begun to fall, not from heaven yet, but from grace. Heaven trembled. What began as whispers had grown into thunder. The song of creation, once flawless and eternal, now carried the echo of defiance, and at its heart stood the morning star, no longer shining with divine harmony, but burning with his own fire. Lucifer walked through the great halls of heaven, his steps silent, his wings unfolding like storm clouds. Around him stood the angels who had followed him not out of hatred for God, but out of love for him. Their loyalty was misguided, but powerful. He looked at them and said, Brothers, we were born from light, not chains. Why must heaven belong to one alone? The Almighty has given us strength, yet denies us the throne. If we were made in his image, then are we not worthy to rule beside him? The host of angels murmured in awe. The brilliance of his presence was intoxicating. His words stirred something deep within them, a desire they'd never known before. And then the heavens split with light. Michael descended, his armor shining like molten gold, his expression calm but sorrowful. Behind him stood legions of angels loyal to the throne, their wings radiant with purity. "Lucifer," Michael said, his voice firm, "you stand on sacred ground and speak words that don't belong to heaven. Stop this before it destroys you." Lucifer turned, smiling faintly. "Destroys me? No, brother, it will free me. You serve without question, you bow without thought. But I see what you cannot, a truth that even God fears. There is no truth outside his will," Michael replied. Lucifer stepped closer. "Then his will is a cage." For a long moment, the two brothers faced each other, light against light, purpose against pride. All of heaven fell silent, waiting for what would come next. Then the voice of God filled the realm. It wasn't thunder, wasn't fire, wasn't wrath, but sorrow. "Lucifer," it said, "you were perfect in beauty, full of wisdom and blameless from the day you were created until pride was found in you. You were the guardian of my throne, the bearer of my light. Why do you turn against me?" Lucifer fell to one knee, not in worship but in defiance. "You call it pride. I call it freedom. You made me reflect your light, but I found my own. Why should I live as your shadow when I can burn brighter than the dawn?" This is the moment of choice for all of us. Will you live in the light of the source, or will you consume yourself in your own flame? If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Bible Mysteries Africa for more life-changing biblical revelations. May your light always find its way back home. Why should I live as your shadow when I can burn brighter than the dawn? At those words, a silence deeper than the void fell over paradise, and for the first time in eternity, heaven saw tears fall from the eyes of the Almighty. "My son," God said, his voice a melody of heartbreak, "you cannot create light from pride. You can only steal it, and that stolen light will eventually consume you." Lucifer's voice, once the sweetest music in existence, broke through the stillness like shattered glass. "Then let it consume me. I would rather burn as my own flame than live forever as your reflection." These words struck the heart of heaven like a sword, causing the entire celestial host to tremble as the very air of paradise began to tear apart. In a voice filled with both infinite love and terrifying finality, God spoke one last time. "If you will not serve, then you cannot remain. The throne you coveted shall be emptied to you forever. The light you love shall become your fire, and the name you once carried, Morning Star, shall turn to shadow. You shall be called no longer Lightbringer, but Accuser, for you have turned against the truth." Lucifer rose to his full, terrifying height, his eyes blazing with a defiant internal heat. His wings unfolded in a fury of motion, and behind him a third of the stars seemed to dim as his followers lifted their swords of light. The air ignited with a violent energy, the first spark of war in a place that had only ever known peace. Michael stepped forward, his armor gleaming like molten gold and his sword dripping with divine fire. "Brother," he said softly, "you know this cannot end in victory." Lucifer smiled, a cold, jagged expression. "Not with joy, Michael, but with pain. Then let it end in glory." And so the war began. It was not a war of steel or time, but a clash of pure will against will, radiance against shadow. Every stroke of Michael's sword sang with the weight of eternal justice, while every strike from Lucifer's blade screamed with the agony of pride. Stars shattered, realms trembled, and the chorus of angels wept as they watched the perfect harmony of creation dissolve into chaos. Through it all, God watched, not with vengeance, but with the silent grief of a father. Love cannot destroy what it once cherished. It can only let it fall. Lucifer fought with the fury of a dying sun, his strength unmatched, his beauty terrible to behold. For a fleeting moment, the brilliance of his rebellion lit the skies brighter than 1,000 suns. But divine order cannot be broken by pride alone. Michael's army rose in perfect unity, their cry shaking the foundations of eternity. Who is like God? Lucifer's fire began to falter, his light, no longer fed by the source, began to collapse inward. What was once brilliance became a burning torment. Michael struck him down and Lucifer fell. He fell through the clouds of glory, through the stars and through the veil of eternity. His followers fell with him, their white wings tearing into black flames. As he descended into the abyss, he heard one final voice, calm and infinite. Lucifer, I gave you light, but you chose fire. You will never rise above me, but I will never cease to see you as the one who once carried my light. In the endless void, Lucifer opened his eyes. His wings were black as night, his beauty twisted into a mask of rage. If I cannot have heaven, he whispered into the dark, then I will have their hearts. This is the ultimate warning for us all. Pride begins when we forget where our light comes from. Every time we seek to be the source rather than the reflection, we walk the path of the fallen. But you can choose a different way. You can choose humility and the true light that never fades. If this journey through the ancient mysteries has strengthened your spirit, help us spread this word across Africa and beyond. Hit that like button, share this message of hope, and subscribe to Bible Mysteries Africa. Together, let us stay awake, stay humble, and stay in His light.